Yeah, this program has been very dear to my heart for the last 5.5 years that I've been working at Canadian Mental Health Association. And I've had the pleasure and privilege of both managing the program and connecting very, very closely with almost all of our 120 children and families, which is a lot of families. But it's also amazing because our reach is pretty vast. We have families in Vancouver, Richmond, Surrey, and Delta. And we would love to expand into all the other areas that we could expand into, which is what this is all about, you know, reaching more and continuing that support that we have. So the program was created, I think, about 12 years ago now, and it came out of a need that was sort of noticed by families who said they needed a day of respite. Parents who were struggling with their mental health and they wanted something for their children to be able to do so they could just have a day to take care of themselves. Self-care is so important. But they didn't necessarily have the means to get their children somewhere to go do something. They didn't have the finances available to get them to do something. And so one group was started, and it was in Vancouver, and it began very grassroots as a recreation-based programming, giving parents the opportunity to have a day of respite. And it started to mitigate barriers. We had a van, so we could pick up the kids from their house individually. We take them out for lunch so that parents don't have to worry about feeding their children. And then we go do a fun activity. And that is still the foundation and sort of structure of the group today. This is a statistic. I love that Sue threw out a statistic that was really, really impactful. For parents who have a mental health issue, children are 40 to 50% more likely to experience a mental health concern than a child whose parents does not struggle with a mental health issue. And that's a pretty staggering statistic. And so we know what trauma does to children. We know what adversity does to children. There's myriad literature on this. What we want to focus on what mitigates the adversity, what mitigates the potential for mental health issues. And one of the biggest things is resilience building. And that for our program, U.R.O.K, as in U.R.O.K, and Urban Resilience Opportunities for Kids, the resilience is sort of an umbrella word for all of the things that our program is focused on, which is in a large part play, getting children to have the opportunity to play. I've been doing a lot of training in trauma realms right now, and the foremost doctors in trauma keep talking about how children need to play more. And so we get them out, we let kids be kids. We're creating safe space for them to build relationships with a caring adult over time, that, you know, they can be in our program from age 8 all the way to age 17, because we've got 2 different groups, 8 to 12-year-olds and 13 to 17-year-olds. And, you know, I've heard of kids who said after being in the program for 5, 6, 7+ years that coming out with us the one time a month was the one time that they knew, like, that they just had to look forward to, that they knew that they were going to be taken care of. They knew that they were going to they're going to get to see their friends. They knew they were going to get to talk about stuff that they might be struggling with staff. You know, like the testimonials and things that come through. Sorry. It's a very emotional time right now. Just like everything makes me cry. The testimonials that we get from kids and families are so moving. They are like, I have booklets and booklets of things that kids and families have said, just how important it has been for them to have this group, to know that they can come, that they can let go of their worries. Like, so many of the teenagers are like, it's the one time I stopped having to worry about homework and I get to just be the kid. And the parents are like, I don't have to worry about my kid. I know they're being taken care of. And you take away all the barriers to access, which is one of the things that parents often struggle with, is how are they going to get their kid there? How are they going to afford to feed them? How are they going to, etc. And our program takes away all of those barriers. So back to resilience, got distracted by my emotions. We're building resilience through play, through attachment, And then you get that social connection. The kids, they're in a group with other kids and they know they're not alone. They're in a group with other kids who are struggling with the same things. And we might not always have conversations about that. It might not always come into the forefront that, your mom has a mental health issue, my mom has a mental health issue, or my dad or my grandma or my caregiver. But it's there and it's possible. And then in the groups where we branched out a few years later. I'm going all over the place, but I'm going to make all my points, I promise. So we started with the one group and now we have 9 groups every month because it just kept expanding, and we keep getting asked, like I have this one woman who calls me from Coquitlam every year. She's like, do you have a group in Coquitlam yet? Do you have a group in Coquitlam yet? So we went from 1 to 9 groups in the span of 12 years. And, that rapport just keeps growing over time. The kids just keep, they want to stay, they want to come back. After they leave at 18 years old, they want to come back and volunteer with us. It's just it's such a beautiful and rewarding thing to observe over time. And I just feel really grateful to be a part of it. I've watched kids come out of their shell. I've watched kids who say they struggled with social interaction, say like, being in this group made it possible for me to feel like I could start talking to people at school, stuff like that. It's just priceless. I love the kids. I love the program. I'm so grateful for it. And, when we get messages like, I wish this program went till I was 20 years old, or I wish this program, was twice a month, or all these other things, that it just really shows how impactful it is. And I'm just so grateful for all of you participating and for your passion and for your, coming forward with and sharing your adversity, your stories, and, that 10-year gap that Sue was talking about. This is a way our program is helping to mitigate that. It's helping to see like, what, the parent has a mental health issue, we're helping out the kid. And then when they start to see some signs and symptoms really early on, and that's what we're doing when we're with the kids, we're like, oh, like, and this happens. I mean, adolescence, it happens, sometimes you go through a moody time in adolescence and that's normal, but sometimes it's not. And we can see that because we see the kid every month, we know what they're like. And when we start to see signs, we can start supporting them to get the resources they need really quickly, hopefully. That's the idea.
That's
so
the goal.
Yeah.